Let's take a look at what we have been discussing in December. We've been talking about confidence, not hype, not heroics, not perfection. Remember, POCUS is no longer optional, so we have to be thinking about what comes next. We focused on what actually allows clinicians to use POCUS in real clinical environments, answering specific questions with clear expectations, developing clinically sound decision-making, and from a training perspective, using small, repeatable practice instead of sporadic intensity. It's the foundation that matters because POCUS is crossing a threshold. POCUS has entered its mainstream era. It's no longer a skill that's just reserved for early adopters or ultrasound enthusiasts. Look across emergency medicine, hospital medicine, critical care, and beyond. POCUS is now embedded in training standards, expected in real-time decision-making, and increasingly scrutinized for quality, consistency, and documentation. The question is really, no longer should I use POCUS? It's am I using it responsibly, efficiently, and well? The new gap isn't access, it's structure. Most clinicians have access to machines. They've had some exposure during training and some degree of informal experience. But what's missing is that structure that has to be built on. So you need to think about what scans matter most for your practice. How then do you decide whether a scan is good enough to trust? And how do you build reliability without needing constant supervision? You have to think within that bubble of how to do this on a consistent basis. The confidence doesn't come from scanning more randomly. It comes from practicing with intent and purpose. This way you can go and have POCUS become a part of your daily practice. Last week, we introduced the idea of clinically sound POCUS, having technically adequate images, clear interpretation. Are you answering that specific question? And then how is it meaningful in terms of impact on your clinical decision making? That becomes the floor, though, not the ceiling. Clinicians who become dependable with POCUS, they scan with clear questions in mind, they use it to help narrow uncertainty, and then integrate POCUS naturally into workflow rather than looking at it as an extra step. So now looking into 2026, next year, our focus expands from confidence to capability, defining a core POCUS skill set by role, and creating clearer pathways from occasional use to dependable practice. And lastly, supporting programs that want consistency, not variability. At POCUS Focused, we exist for clinicians who want structure without noise and growth without that feeling of being overwhelmed. If December helped to clarify where clinicians are or where you are in particular, 2026 will help then decide where you're going. Until next year,